This is the MacBook Neo, and on the surface it feels like a turning point, not just because it's cheaper, but because of what it represents. A Mac powered by the same class of chip you'd find in something like the iPhone 16 Pro, now sitting inside a full laptop. So naturally, the question that hangs over this entire device, is it too good to be true? And more importantly, what are you actually giving up by choosing this over something like a MacBook Air or Pro? Because the answer to that question is what makes the Neo either the best value Apple has ever made, or a cleverly disguised compromise. Let's talk about it. The first thing you notice about the Neo is just how right it feels. It's thin, it's light, it's incredibly portable for what it is. This is the kind of laptop that you throw into a bag and you forget is even there, and that's exactly the point. It feels like Apple took everything that people loved about the MacBook Air and then asked, what's the minimum that we can strip back without breaking the experience? And honestly, they got really close. The build still feels premium, the keyboard is fantastic. In fact, I think it's the best you can get at this price. I even chose to write this review directly on the Neo because the keyboard felt so great. Every key press feels deliberate, stable, and satisfying, completely comparable to that of the Air and the Pro. Battery life seems to last pretty stably all day, especially when running basic tasks like web browsing or email. But then you start to notice the small things, like the design detail where the top corners are rounded but the bottom ones aren't. It's subtle, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. It feels like a half step towards a softer design language that didn't fully commit here. And that kind of sums up the Neo's design philosophy. It gives you 90% of the premium experience at 60% of the cost. So then, what do you actually lose? They say when things feel too good to be true, usually they are. And that's sort of where things get real, because the Neo is impressive until you compare it. Like for instance, the display. On its own, this is a decent display. Things seem clear, plenty bright, it's great for those basic tasks, but then when you compare it, you realize this is not an OLED. Something you don't notice right away until you put a movie on and you see the glow of what's supposed to be black edges, or you adjust the wallpaper to something that's true black and it just glows. In those cases, you'll notice it immediately. Blacks just aren't truly black. There's a slight glow, a softness that reminds you that this is a more traditional, inexpensive panel. Is it bad? Not at all, but if you're used to higher-end MacBooks or anything OLED like even most phones now, you definitely feel the difference instantly. Then there's the speakers, and yeah, they're not great. They get the job done for calls, YouTube, and casual use, but there's no depth at all, no real fullness. If you're somebody like me who frequently uses dedicated speakers or even AirPods with this, you're not going to notice this. But at the end of the day, it is one of the clearest reminders that you were using a budget-focused machine. And then there are smaller cuts that you notice as time goes on. A less premium trackpad feel that returns to a physical moving trackpad. It just doesn't feel as responsive as other MacBooks that I'm used to. Once I turned on tap to click where I don't have to fully press it, then I felt a little better about it, but it's definitely not perfect. Or the fact that the beautiful keyboard just doesn't have a backlighting at all. Something I didn't think I'd care about, honestly, but I actually did. Plus, you have to weigh the fact that other laptops in this budget price category often do have backlit keyboards, so it's one of the biggest losses in comparison to others on the market. You get the idea though. Take a MacBook, which is generally known for high quality, give it subtle overall downgrades that you don't notice individually, but then definitely feel collectively when it adds up. None of these things ruin the experience. And I think Apple did prioritize the correct things to keep high quality, but together they answer that earlier question. This isn't too good to be true, you are giving up things. So then the real question is whether those trade-offs matter. This is where things get really interesting, because the Neo doesn't feel like a budget laptop while you're actually using it. Open a bunch of different apps, open up Chrome with multiple tabs, jump between workflows, this thing is incredible. Day-to-day performance is genuinely excellent. That's thanks largely to the fact that it's powered by the exact same chip as the iPhone 16 Pro. And that's kind of wild to think about. If a phone can power a laptop this well, what is stopping Apple from going one step further? Something like a Samsung DeX-style experience where your iPhone becomes your computer suddenly doesn't feel that far off. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. 8 gigs of RAM. On paper, that sounds pretty limiting, and probably the main reason for hesitation on buying this Neo, and maybe even why you're watching this review. But Mac memory management is just different. 8 gigs on a Mac is not the same as 8 gigs on a Windows machine. There are still tons of people using M1 Macs with 8 gigs today, and they're doing just fine. I was actually one of them. I didn't upgrade because I had to. I upgraded simply because I work in tech and I do this and I have to review later products. So the real concern isn't today how 8 gigs of RAM works, It's 4 to 5 years from now when apps are more and more demanding. But then again, we were asking the same question years ago, and here we are. It's still fine. In the real world today, 8 gigs on a Mac is enough. Let's be clear, this is not a gaming laptop, but it's also not bad. And to highlight that, I powered up my PS5 controller and I got to work. Apple Arcade titles run exactly how you'd expect, smooth, optimized, and consistent. These games are built for Apple Silicon to be able to run across all Apple products, and it shows. I've been playing Oceanhorn, which is one of the newer games on Apple Arcade. It's an adventure game, but with really great graphics. Now on my MacBook Pro and my iPhone 17 Pro, the game can run at full quality without any drops in frames, and it just works perfectly. But on the Neo, this is finally where you start to see its limits. Like at higher graphics, you'll notice frame drops, stuttering, especially in scenes with heavy lighting and shadows. It's nearly constant and it's unavoidable. Luckily, the game lets you drop down to a lower quality for better performance. And once we drop it down to about 50% quality, maybe it doesn't look quite as beautiful, but it runs smoothly at this quality consistently throughout the game. And really that's the story here. If you respect what this machine was designed for, it performs surprisingly well. I've spent hours gaming like this and it holds up far better than I was expecting, especially remembering this is a budget laptop. But okay, what if we push it a little further? This is where the Neo starts to walk a fine line. Yes, okay, you can edit on it, but you have to adjust your expectations. So I am running a test here comparing the Neo on the left and the MacBook Pro on the right. Both are running my smart home tour, which is on the channel right now. It's about 10 minutes long and it's running 7 channels of video at once, typically only 1 to 2 4K streams at once though. So testing the playback on the Mini, I'm definitely seeing some stuttering and lagging through the scene here. Okay, we'll drop it down to about half the rendering quality, see how that runs. And beautiful, it's running much smoother here. Okay, so now let's take a look and see how it looks with 7 channels running at once. And there we go, yep, it's still running great. So that's the point I'm trying to make here though. It's all about working with this thing and then pushing it to realistic limits. So now we're going to test the exporting times on both. Again, this is a 10-minute 4K video with multiple streams of 4K and graphics. Let's see how they both do when I start this. Okay, so we're about halfway through here. We can see that this MacBook Pro is flying through this way faster than what the Neo here can achieve. Again, we are comparing a Pro chip that's built for this versus essentially an iPhone 16 Pro. But speeding up the timeline here, we can see that the MacBook Pro here is finished in 5 minutes and 21 seconds. That's crazy considering this Neo is only at 42% with over 7 minutes quoted still remaining. And there we go, the Neo is done at 11 minutes and 17 seconds. That's crazy. So essentially that means the Pro is roughly 52% faster at this task, which is crazy considering it's way more than 52% more expensive. But here's what's actually impressing me about this test. This MacBook Neo never gets hot once. Like, sure, okay, a little bit warm, but like nothing that would stop you from using this thing while it's exporting. It's really clear that this technically isn't a Pro machine, but still amazing that with those adjustments, I was still fully able to export my video with a bit of patience, granted. It's not a Pro machine, but it's also not pretending to be one. And if you were willing to work with it, you could still do everything I can do on a Pro, just slower or at a reduced quality. It's pretty impressive. But what about the iPad? Should I buy that or the Neo? This might be the most important question, honestly, because for a lot of people, that alternative to a budget Mac isn't another Mac, it is an iPad. And for the longest time, that was a compromise. It's sort of like this gateway where you would first buy an iPad and then you realized you still needed a laptop. Well, the Neo finally changes that because at a similar price point, even cheaper than many of the iPads on the market, it gives you a full desktop experience without the limitations of iPadOS. No weird file management, no watered down app limitations, no workarounds, just a real computer. So if you're choosing between the two, I'd pick the Neo every single time. It's just going to be way more practical for anything you throw at it. So that's the MacBook Neo, a beautiful, compact MacBook, a turning point for Apple, the most powerful and premium laptop in its price range. For years, MacBooks were exclusively for those who were willing to spend upwards of $1,000, leaving the rest of that cheaper space just primarily belonging to Windows. Now, Apple has an answer, and it's a strong one. The MacBook Neo isn't just good, it might actually be too good. It made me think, if this laptop is this good, maybe I don't even need a MacBook Pro. Maybe I'd rather just have something lighter, simpler, more portable. Now, maybe for me that isn't the Neo, but if it's this good, maybe the Air is actually more realistic for me as a replacement. The final verdict for the Neo though, if I were a student today, I wouldn't hesitate. I would buy this thing immediately because for the price, For the performance and for what you're actually getting, the MacBook Neo isn't a good deal. It might just be one of the most influential products Apple has released in years.